My name is Elisabeth Tocca. You already hear from my name, the bilingual background of my family. So Bolzano is a very special part of Italy because here we live in an autonomous region where 3 languages are at home. It's a quite exotic thing. I don't know if anybody of you knew that here we speak. So 27% of people living in our region are Italian speakers, 70% are German speakers, and 3% speak Rhaeto-Roman, so Latin language, which is a mixture of the old Latin of the Romans and the Rhaetic language of the original population of this area. We are 500,000 in our region, whereas Bolzano is the capital city of this region. We are 100,000 inhabitants, so it's quite a small, nice city which you can easily explore in a couple of days. Of the 100,000 people in Bolzano, 80% are Italian speakers, 20% are German speakers. Why did I point out with my name the linguistic background? I'm half, let's say, Italian in the linguistic background. So my father was from Rome and he was hitchhiking here in town. And my mother was hitchhiking here in town. She's originally from, I see just a square. I don't know if it's right, but I hope yes. Is okay, sorry. And yeah, that's why you will find the first peculiarity of a region in having different languages on the signposts entering here. And you will find the cultural background and the linguistic background in many sites we have here. For example, we start our visit of Bolzano now with the market, the Christmas market, which is a tradition, typical a German tradition in reality. We took over. Many things are hybrid things we have here. So we have many super wonderful things learned from our Italian background and wonderful things coming from the northern side of the Alps, like our market here. I'm gonna enter now, so I'm turning around the camera so that you can follow me on this parkour. Sorry, I just need to see where I turn my camera here and I start. So tell me in case if I'm too fast moving around. So Christmas is approaching, so we have lots of visitors wanting to enter. I asked to get a priority entrance in order not to have to queue. Ti ho detto prima che facevo la guida. So he didn't. Ti ho detto prima che sto facendo una guida. Sì, mi avete detto che potevo. Okay, sorry. They forgot about me entering the direct way. So this is our market. And at the moment it's getting busy because people stop working. Of course, due to COVID this year, it's not as crowded as in other years, but the quality of sightseeing is better. Here you see a typical little stand with people having a warm drink. The average temperature at the moment is 40-45 Fahrenheit. So from 0 to 4 degrees is our average temperature. And a typical drink, alcoholic drink we consume at this market is let's say Glühwein, we call it. It's heated red wine with a little bit of rum and spices. And here we approach we are on the main square of Bolzano. It's called Walter Square, after the statue. Can you see it? I don't know. I'm not sure. Yes.
Yes.
It's Mr. Walter von der Vogelweide. He gives a name to our major square here in town. He was placed on this square approximately 120 years ago as a symbol for German-speaking culture. He's facing south and he was put on this square as a provocation to the mayor of a city which is 50 kilometers south of here. It's called Trento. It was the capital of the Italian-speaking Tyrol. And so he just says, he's here saying German culture is at home here. The answer of the mayor of Trento, the city 50 kilometers south of here, 3 years later, was Mr. Dante Alighieri. So Dante Alighieri, maybe you know him, you're studying Italian, one of the most important poets in Italy, whereas Mr. Walter von der Vogelweide was one of the most important minstrels of Middle Ages. And so these two symbols face each other at 50 kilometers distance. What do you find apart from the Glühwein in our little market? So one specialty for all of you who like to eat cheese or meat, this is called speck, for example. The speck is a hybrid product of our region. It's a mixture of the making of the prosciutto, so the Italian meat, and the ham you make in Austria, because it's a smoked prosciutto, we can say, and we call it speck. Then you have a number of sausages and different farmer cheeses you can find here. But on our market, you find also art products like candles and essences made in the region, decorations for Christmas, and also wooden sculptures from valleys around this area. I just wanted to have a glimpse on our cathedral. Can you see it properly?
Yes.
So on our main square, we have the Cathedral of Bolzano. It's a typical Gothic or medieval style, let's say, in the construction. Maybe if you can see our rooftop properly. And if somebody of you has already been to Vienna, it's a copy of the rooftop of Vienna, St. Stephan's Dome. It's a dragon skin, which was done for protecting the churches in these times. But the symbol of Bolzano is our tower bell. It's 64 meters high, and the filigrane peak of our tower bell is so special that the artist, he was a German artist, who built it between 1500 and 1520, was sent away from Bolzano without being paid for his work. They say they didn't trust him and the tower to survive the first thunderstorm. In reality, the cathedral was bombarded during Second World War, and one of the original intact pieces of our cathedral is still our tower bell. So it's worth visiting the cathedral also inside. We won't do that together today, but if you have occasion to come to Bolzano one day, for sure you will visit it. We walk slowly out of our cathedral. I want to show you more things of Bolzano. Here again, people having our famous Glühwein. You can also have an alternative. I'm now pointing out to me because otherwise it gets maybe too stressful for you while I walk. So instead of the Glühwein, you can also drink a kind of apple juice mix. So in South Tyrol, we have 4 big pillars which support our economy. The most historic one is agriculture, which is split between wine industry, which was our source of richness already in Middle Age. We have a lot of very good red and white wines, and apples. So our region, South Tyrol, is one of the biggest apple producers in Europe. We produce approximately 7 billion apples a year, which means quite a lot. So after Holland, we are the second wine producer apple producer in Europe. So apple juice has, next to wine, a very important role in our daily life. The second big sector of our life, or which gives jobs to people, is the public sector. I mentioned already to you that we are an autonomous region. This means that 98% of taxes are managed here. So of the 500,000 inhabitants of our region, nearly 50,000 people work in the public sector. The third big sector is tourism. So we have a very special climate. So compared to, I saw the question. Don't ask me why, but we don't produce apple wine in our region like in some German regions. I don't have the answer why. I asked some apple farmers, but I think we just have big enough wine production industry, and the Italian taste is more directed towards wine drinking. And so apple wine is not a market yet, but apple juice and Apfelstrudel is something you will have to taste coming to our region. I show you if I see an Apfelstrudel in one of the shop windows walking by later. So the third sector, as I was mentioning, is tourism. We have a very special climate. So today it's quite cold, not very, very cold. It can be colder, but our cold is dry and our heat is dry. In summer and wintertime, we are only at 270 meters above sea level, which means Bolzano is in now we can't see it, is surrounded by mountains. It's like in a conch. That means in summertime, it heats up a lot. So it gets really, really warm. We talk about 100 Fahrenheit on the warmest days, always dry heat. And in wintertime, due to thermic inversion at night,
You lost Elisabeth?
Sì, ci sono? Am I here?
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
You froze a little bit.
Yeah, I was getting a phone call. I don't know. Sorry.
Okay.
So,
okay, Elisabeth, we have a question. When is the best time to visit Bolzano? This is a good question, I think.
It is. It depends a little bit on what's your passions and interests. So I can offer in wintertime, Bolzano and our surroundings. In wintertime, if you love the snow and skiing, Bolzano and the surroundings are a perfect place for doing this kind of activities. So staying in the mountains, going into the snow, coming to the markets, Christmas markets in the cities around in the whole region. Sorry, here I am again. Not to phone me from 5:30 to 6:30, but they don't listen. Sorry. So in wintertime, it's skiing and snowing. In springtime, we have the blossom of the apple orchards. So it's a wonderful time to hike in the valleys, and the perfect climate to visit Bolzano and the cities around, and to start hiking in the valley area. In summertime, it gets quite warm down here, but you can use Bolzano as a base, and you can use Bolzano as a base and then go to the mountains during the days. We have the Dolomites. The closest Dolomite mountain next to Bolzano is half an hour by car. And you know, the Dolomites are UNESCO heritage mountains because they were born underwater in reality. So if you imagine the great coral barrier reef in Australia being pressed out of the ocean and then being on the ground, that's what we have in our Dolomites. That's a summer activity. So hiking, sightseeing in our cities. And in autumn is the best harvest time. So you can do culinary trips, and I can't believe it. You can do culinary trips and many other activities around here. So we have like 10 months of tourist season here because in the end, we have always some focus and something to do around here. So, and the fourth sector, I was just finishing our industrial or our income sectors is industry. So Bolzano has quite a big industrial area also in the 1930s. I will tell you later a little bit of this story. We had a lot of industries being settled down here to create jobs for Italian settlers. That's why in periods of crisis, we have these four sectors which give balance to each other. Now I left Piazza Walter and entered a very beautiful palazzo. It's called Palecampo Franco. I want to show you the inside of this palazzo. It was reopened this year, and it was the residence of, you see also in the mirrors of the windows, our cathedral. I don't know how well you see it. I see it very small, so I'm not sure that you can see it properly. But this is a palazzo from the Archduke Rainer, who lived here in Bolzano. And he was given this tree I'm showing you. It's a Ginkgo bilboa tree. They say they are trees who can, or that can survive over 1,000 years. And so in order to protect this tree, when they were doing the restoration works of this palace, of this palazzo, they built an enormous vase. You can somehow see it on the floor. It's 6 meters deep, so that the roots could be protected, and it hopefully survived these constructions work which have been carried out here in the last years. This ginkgo tree was a present from Empress Sissi to the Archduke Rainer. He was passionate about plants and created lots of botanic gardens in our city, and that's why somehow she decided to give him this tree as a present. We have lots of very nice promenades with lots of Mediterranean plants. That's a consequence of our special climate here in town. As I told you, we are on the southern side of the Alps. That means all bad weather fronts coming from the north are stopped by the Alps. That means we have somehow 300 sunshine days a year. That's why we are also such a beloved tourist destination, because most of the time the sun shines. I don't know how I could turn off WhatsApp, but I think if I turn off WhatsApp, I turn off also my Zoom connection. You confirm?
It's okay, Elisabeth,
yes?
Don't worry.
Sorry.
Sometimes we lost your the image, but it's okay. Don't worry.
Okay. Okay. Good. That's what I'm about our climate. So it's we always say continental climate with Mediterranean temperatures. That's why our vegetation is also special. We have olive trees, palm trees, lots of Mediterranean plants, which normally would not survive in the cold winter months. Now I'm approaching the heart or the medieval part of our town, but this is one of our other most beautiful roads and another part of our little Christmas market. This is ceramics from our region. It's a company called Thun, which is very strong in exporting angels and ceramic sculptures, but the main focus is also on this wonderful road, which was built in the 18th century. It's the place where the rich merchants of Bolzano settled down in the 18th century. They were looking for space and air, and that's why they built their wonderful homes here in this road. Bolzano was the heritage of Bolzano. If you come next year, you will be part of the festivities of 1,000 years of Bolzano. This means Bolzano was born in the year 1027. Sorry, not next year, in the next 6 years. So Bolzano was born in 1027 by the hand of Archbishop of Trento. He saw the potential of this valley, which was lying on the River Adige. You have to know the River Adige, and in the Adriatic Ocean. And I'm stopping here because there is music in front, and I don't know if you hear me or the music. You will tell me if the music gets louder than me.
No, it's okay, Elisabeth.
It's fine.
We can hear just in the background, but
okay.
It's okay.
So I was saying, so 1,000 years ago, this Bishop of Trento founded Bolzano exactly here because the River Adige was navigable till 20 kilometers south of the town, and it ended up next to Venice in the Adriatic Sea. So it was a direct connection for goods which arrived in Venice from Oriental cities to Bolzano. And we lie just 1,000 meters, we lie just 100 kilometers south of the Brenner Pass. The Brenner Pass is on the north-south axis, the lowest pass in the Alps. So it's easily crossable in summer and winter time. So Bolzano was born as a merchant city to exchange goods between the northern part of the Alps and Italy and the Orient. And that's why it has always been a quite rich town of merchants. That's our main professional background, if we can say, which brought the richness to our city. We are approaching another road. We are now at the southern entrance of town. We have very interesting churches. Also, we are not able to visit now because there are the services at the moment. But we have, for example, our main cathedral, which is built by artists arriving from the northern side of the Alps, whereas here at the entrance of this of the southern part of town, we have a Dominican cloister, which was decorated by artists who had worked with Giotto. So also the Italian part is represented. I'm checking out if I see in this shop window our typical sweets of Christmas time. So you see the bakery, the cook. At the moment we eat these cookies for Christmas. Another typical dessert or sweet for Christmas time is this kind of Zelten, it's called. It's made with dried prunes and almonds and nuts. It's quite, if you do sports, you can eat it without problems. And here you see our apple strudel, which is a cake with the inside, with it in the inside, a filling of apples and nuts and yeah, a mixture of different ingredients. We are
Elisabeth.
Yes.
Elisabeth, I have a question.
Yes.
About kids. So what can kids do in Bolzano?
So for kids, we have lots of activities. We have a very big park with playgrounds, but we have 2 museums which are focused not only on kids, but a lot on kids. For the most important and famous one is for sure the Archaeological Museum, where you find the Iceman. I don't know if you ever heard about him. He is over 5,000 years old mummy with organic rests. He was found in on a glacier in our region, so in South Tyrol. In the meantime, it's 30 years ago when he was found, and you can visit this mummy in the Archaeological Museum, and it's a highlight for children, but it's not a children's museum because it's interesting also for us adults. Whereas we have a museum also for natural history, which is more focused on children learning, but also interesting for adults. Otherwise, you can do lots of hikes, which are specially made for children. In the mountains, we have lakes for swimming, not far away from Bolzano, lots of swimming and recreation areas in summertime, and in wintertime, ski resorts, which are more suitable for families and children, and some are less suitable. Did I answer the question?
Yes.
Okay.
They told me yes.
Okay, great. So here now we are entering a next market. This is just decorated Christmas-like, but in reality, it's our vegetable market we have all year round. It's the Piazza del Erbe, and this Piazza del Erbe is all year round from Monday to Saturday, open every day. Here you find from flowers all year round, as I said, to local Italian fruits and vegetables. So mostly Italian. I see some ananas, which you're greeted, oranges and spices. So this is our fruit and vegetable market. Maybe it's one of the most picturesque parts of our city. Whereas here you see Bolzano is a quite big pedestrian city. So you just find bikers and pedestrians in many roads. So the prosecution to this, in the direction I'm pointing out, is the way to go to the Archaeological Museum of Bolzano, so where you can see Mr. Ötzi, whereas here from the elliptic form of the road you're seeing now, you see this was the original boundary and mode of the city of Bolzano. So the old city ended here and it starts in this road I'm pointing to you now. You see Bolzano in the middle of the Alps. We have many statues representing Neptune. So in reality, he is the king of the waters. But as Bolzano was born and became rich because of the rivers, of course, Neptune has a very important role in our city. So I'm entering now our main road, which is the Via dei Portici in Italian. In German, it's called the Laubengasse. I'm not sure if you can see that on the right and left-hand side, we have some kind of arcades, but maybe yes. And in the middle, we have a medieval road, so it's a quite narrow road. These arcade houses are 300 meters long. The version you are seeing with me today is from the 16th century onwards. The first arcade houses were built of wood. So you can imagine they were destroyed by different fires and also some inundations of our river Talfo, which is the river we have here in downtown. A typical decorative element. You can see this window, this bow window, we can say we call them erca. It's windows which were built instead of balconies, and they had the function of balconies, so you could see better what was happening on the road and see what the neighbor lady or gentleman was doing.
Elisabeth.
Yes?
I have a question. Okay, they asked me to ask you to introduce someone there, but I'm asking you this question. So what people like best there, and what they buy usually in Bolzano, on the Christmas market, which is the most beautiful part?
To buy or to visit? I don't understand the question, sorry.
Two questions. One is to visit, and the other one is what they buy. I think they are referred to the Christmas market, I suppose.
Yeah. Yes. So if we talk about people coming from outside, for sure one of the biggest, most popular things they buy to bring back home is typical wool made house shoes. So we have a lot of mountain people and farmers. And now I'm trying to look in some shop window if I can find it to show you. So like wool-made house shoes are one of the most popular things people bring back home when they are in holiday in our region. Now at the moment I don't find something, but wool is a very typical thing you can transport easily also to countries like United States and outside Europe. Otherwise, of course, for people who come from Italy or similar regions, apple strudel,
Elisabeth, we have some connection problem. Elisabeth, maybe you...
Yeah, I don't enter the arcades.
Yeah.
You remember? Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that after a certain point we have connection problem, so you need to go back.
Show you. I can't show you what these house shoes look like, but as I said, so this is one typical thing, or woolen things, Christmas decorations in the Alpine style. We have a lot of these kind of decorations, and then food, wine, strudel, speck, sausages, which is not something I guess you can bring back home overseas, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah, so this road I'm moving still, you see it behind me now. This Arcades Road was built very smartly by this Bishop of Trento who founded Bolzano, because he built it from east to west, so that in summertime the sun never enters, so it's always a shadowy place to protect from the Bolzano heat. And in wintertime, it's a place where there are no north-south winds, so it's protected and gives you a good background to do good business. Here in this road, at the beginning, when it was founded, I show you again the buildings. The merchants received from this bishop an average size of 7 meters in their text space. So this 7 meters was the average size of an arcade building. But as always, people try to find ways how to save taxes. And oh my God. And they built very deep houses. I can't show you because when we tried, I lost connection. This building you see here is the only building. I seem to be invisible when I do these guided tours. People are just running over me. So this building here you see is the only Italian architecture sorry, we have in these arcade homes. It's the only building with a balcony. It has bigger windows, and it was built by Miss Claudia de' Medici, the daughter of the rich and popular family of merchants of Florence, who was married here in Bolzano, and she established
Elisabeth, we lost Elisabeth.
One of the most important is the mercantile magistrate. I am in the arcades here. I don't have a very good connections, so I try to go out again. So she's Claudia de' Medici, the most powerful lady of our town, and she built this wonderful building in Rinascimento Italiano style. Here again, you see the houses are colored in many different forms. The more decorated it was, the richer the family living in it. And nowadays, the major shops, now again, we start having local shops in this little road. So children shops, fashion, that's the main road. So if you come to Bolzano, for sure you visit the Walter Square, you visit this road. This is the main road, the road leading to to the archaeological museum for sure, and all the pedestrian area, which is really quite big. So you have a full day at least of activities here in the city center. And if you visit the museum, you will need 2 or 3 days here in town. These are the rests of one of the oldest buildings of town. The upper part is the only building which was bombarded during Second World War, whereas the lowest part is still some Gothic or medieval frescoes. It was the house of the city lord in those days. So you see, we still walk through this road. I'm now checking out the time. How much time do we have? I can show you one more square before getting to
time, Elisabeth. We have time.
Okay, so we are approaching now the Piazza del Municipio. This is the road where in wintertime there's another part of our market. So Bolzano has 2 faces, I have to say. This is the medieval part. And as I was mentioning before, in the 1922, so 1919, in reality, this territory, which was part of Austria till 1919, became part of Italy. What did that mean? A complete change in management. And in 1922, with the ascension to power of Mr. Mussolini, he came to our region. So what you are seeing now with me. And he said, well, this is not Italy, I have to change something. So he built on the other side of the river. We don't have time to go there now because it would take us too long. But on the other side of the river, he built the clone of this road in rationalistic, imperialistic style of the 1930s. So that's also an interesting contrast when you are in Bolzano to visit these 2 phases. Together with the aesthetic renovation of town, he also settled a lot of industries in our area and created jobs for people from middle and southern Italy. So that's why the proportion of linguistic background in our population is different to the rest of the region. We are now arriving to the next little part of our market. So in non-COVID years, we don't just have an ice skating ring here in front of our municipality. That's a building from the beginning of the 20th century. Here you can, for kids, and not only, we have an ice skate ring, and normally when there is no COVID, we have also some more gastronomic offer for our guests. This market, or this square, which is also part of our market, is next to the former entrance for all merchants who arrived to Bolzano from the north of the Alps. This is the entrance road. It's called the Via dei Bottai. It was the road of the workers who built I'm missing the word at the moment, the barrels for wine. So this was one of the most important professions here in Bolzano, as wine was our major product, and goods were brought and transported on boats in those days. So this is a road where you find lots of hotels and guest houses still nowadays. Yeah, and here it's the seat of our municipality nowadays. So if you plan to marry in Bolzano, this is the place to go. Okay, I'm joking, of course. So I'm heading back towards Walter Square. I didn't show you the inside of the arcade buildings, but here I show you just to give you an idea of how deep they are. So they are approximately 70 meters deep. And you have to imagine one family of merchants lived in one of these long buildings. So from the front to the end, we have a very special architecture in the inside with two inner courtyards in order to make sure that light and air enters the inside of the buildings. And
Elisabeth, say mute. Say mute.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
My hands are so frozen that I can't hold my phone properly.
No.
Probably I forgot my how do you say the gloves in my office.
It's
no
okay.
worries.
Sorry. Oh my God.
No, it's my fault. I mean, that's why I turned on. So as I was saying, the merchants who lived here, sometimes they, our neighbors, so from northern North Tyrol and from Trentino, said we were quite high-nosed, we Bolzano people. And the reason why probably comes from the fact that in the past, there were 8 golden rules you had to follow to call yourself a Bolzano person. So the first golden rule was to own a house in the arcade. So one house in this road I'm walking through now. This was the premise to participate. The second rule was to have a fixed reserved place for you and your family in our main church, the one you saw at the beginning of our tour. The third rule was that you had to have a loggia in theater. The fourth rule was that you had to have a little family graveyard chapel, so not just a normal tomb. This was part of society rules then. Then you had to own a little house in a mountain just next to Bolzano, which is worth visiting if you stay in Bolzano in summer, winter time, in spring, because it's 1,000 meters height. It gives you a perfect sight on Bolzano and on the Dolomites. And there, the rich families spent the warm summer months. Then we had to have, of course, the man had to marry, the sons of the rich family members had to marry the daughters of the rich families, whereas the 8th rule was that we ladies had to own so many clothes that we had to wash only twice a year. So if you fulfilled all these rules, you could call yourself a Bolzano person. Otherwise, no. So we are entering now the last important square in Bolzano. Normally we have an artisan market here during Christmas time. This year we have a small exhibition about angels, which was done by children at school. This square was the entrance square with the Bishop's Palace. We have a very important building here, which is the official weight house, you can say. We had the official corn market on this square, and here the sales contracts were signed between merchants and the sellers of grain. Here we had at the origins, the Bishop's Palace was on this square, but it was destroyed by Meinhard II, one of the most important, Piazza del Grano, exactly. But it was destroyed by one of the most important dukes of Tyrol, who conquered Bolzano in 1277. I'm heading back to Walter Square. I'm trying to show you an olive tree who happily survives our cold winters here. And on the floor, you can see this square. This was the old main entrance tower to the city of Bolzano.
Elisabeth, I have a question.
Yes.
Are there mostly just shops, or are there a lot of restaurants too?
We have both. So we have so the specialty in our region is we have lots of shops. Of course, we are in one of the richest regions of Italy. So the spending power is quite high. And we have lots of restaurants, cafes, and bars, which are open all year round and inside and outside. How you prefer also in wintertime. Now with COVID, we are trained to stay outside also in wintertime. So, and our gastronomy is very versatile because on the one hand, we have very good Italian dishes. We can cook like Italians. On the other hand, we have typical Tyrolean cuisine with knödel, goulash, which are more traditional from the northern side of the Alps. And therefore, you can choose between a variety of local tastes encompassing two different cultures. I'm back again on the Walter Square, the middle of the trees. And yes, I think I'm open for questions if there are questions. I skipped the part of the inside of the building because I was losing you.
Yes, there is another question about the businesses. Julie asked do the business stay in the same family for generations?
Yeah. So one of the 8 golden rules was to marry the daughter of another rich family here. And so the richness was trespassed between big rich families who became richer and richer during time. And yeah, that's why family business, we have a lot of family business and a lot of very rich old.
Okay, I have another question.
Yes.
Louise, she's asking what kind of pasta sauce is prepared in Bolzano? This is interesting.
Yes, you're right. So pasta sauce, typical of our region. So we eat, of course, a lot of pasta al ragu, and a typical pasta al ragu is the ragu made with deer, because we're living in the mountains. We have deer products, so these kind of wild animals living in the mountains, and deer ragu is for sure one of the special sugo sauces we have. Then of course we have also pesto and amatriciana and everything, but it's not our, it's what we learned from our neighboring regions.
Okay, this question is about sweet thing. What is, we talked about strudel last time. Is a typical.
Yes.
Can you talk about it?
Yeah, but then others. So strudel. Then I showed you the Zelten, which is the one with the figs pulp. Then in autumn time we have very good, my favorite sweet chestnut puree with bitter chocolate. It's like a heart. I call them chestnut hearts. It's a puree of chestnut in the bitter chocolate and with cream on it. That's very good. It was invented by a conditor by a patisserie from Bolzano. And then we have, of course, Kaiserschmarrn, which is oriented to Austrian kitchen, but it's like an omelette cut in pieces with sugar and marmalade. We have omelette, of course. We have lots of different cakes from like really lots of different cakes with different flavors and different flours. Yeah, difficult to describe in words.
Isabel, what about Christmas? Do you have typical dishes for Christmas? Like, I don't know.
Yes.
What is a typical lunch for Christmas?
So yeah, it depends on where your cultural background is more settled. So there are families who follow the northern traditions with duck and goulash and this kind of meats. In families maybe with more Italian tradition, on the 24th at night you eat fish, and on Christmas you do lasagna, pasta al forno, and then different kind of meat preparations. depends where your background lies.
What about you? What is your...
Me, cook at 24th, I cook a fish dish at night. So pasta with zucchini and gamberetti, often salmon, of course, as an entree, smoked salmon. And then I cook different fishes depending on what our fish dealer has to offer. And on Christmas Day, we have pasta al forno, very typical. I'm more Italian oriented in this. But I have my own who cook minestra d'orzo and then the mezzalune. So it's like a pasta filled with spinach and ricotta with butter, covered with butter. So it really varies from. But I follow more the Italian background because the cook in my family was my father and not my mother. So I learned from him.
Okay. So about the street, the area where you are right now, it's for just pedestrians and bikes. No cars are allowed there.
Yes, exactly. All the streets I walked through with you are just pedestrian areas. So no cars allowed here and bikes allowed here for sure. But bikes are quite, it's a little bit, sometimes I think we are like Amsterdam. So you have to pay attention to the bikers, but still it's a quite high quality of life here in our city center.
Okay, so if someone wants to unmute yourself and ask questions directly to Elisabeth, you can do it. We have a few minutes. Okay, what is a good area to stay if we don't want to drive?
Okay, and if you want to stay in town or you want to go to the mountains?
I don't know, Areli?
Yes. Well, I've never been to that part of Italy, so I was wondering, and I have an 8-year-old. I would love to go next year to Italy. So what would you recommend? I guess in between place, because we do a lot of hiking. So where would you recommend to stay? Ideally, I don't want to drive if I don't have to, but so where would you recommend?
So Bolzano is for sure a good place. Will you come in summertime or late spring, early autumn? You know already when during the year?
Yeah, I would probably say next year might be fall, maybe fall time.
Yeah, then Bolzano, so down in the valley, is a very good place. And from here, you have lots of public transport bringing you to different places for hiking. So you can take a cable car and go to the Altopiano del Renon. There you can do lots of middle, easy hikes with your kid. Then you can take the bus who leads you up to the Dolomites. So if you come early fall, you have also the certainty that there is not snow in the mountains yet, and you can do different hikes down here in the valleys. But yeah.
Okay, Elisabeth, another question.
Yes.
Sorry. Another question. What is the easiest way to come into Bolzano by air?
Mm-hmm. So I think there are connections now with bigger cities like Berlin, like Rome, like Frankfurt. We have an airport in town. You would have to check for sure before with your flying company. So, but if you arrive in one of the major airports, Amsterdam, we have a connection. So there could be a direct flight connection to Bolzano. Otherwise, the closest airports, bigger ones, are Munich, Innsbruck, or Verona. These are the closest ones.
Yeah, but Verona, it could be closer too.
Yeah.
But you have, maybe there is not a direct flight. You had to stop in Europe somewhere, or in Milan or in Rome, and then from there, took another flight or maybe a car if you want to drive. Because beside Bolzano, you can visit also place around like Trento too. It's really close. Maybe also, I don't remember, Bressanone.
Bressanone, Brunico, Merano is very beautiful.
Oh, Merano, it's beautiful. It's really famous for their spa. So you can take a tour of the area. It's really amazing. Another question, Elisabeth. It is expensive to live in Bolzano.
Yes, to live in Bolzano is quite expensive. We have
not as much as California, okay? Because I know that people are connected from California, but not as much.
I imagine, from an Italian perspective, I have to point out. Yeah, from an Italian perspective, probably it's one of the most expensive regions because we have little space, we have all mountains, and the good construction space is quite expensive. So we have areas in Bolzano where you pay 1 square meter 17,000 euros. So if you have to buy a house, it gets quite expensive. Yeah, but I imagine California is even worse.
Okay, the time is done, but I have just last question for you, Elisabeth. And there are famous Italians from there, past or present.
Yes, maybe somebody of you knows Mr. Reinhold Messner. He is the one who climbed all 8,000-meter mountains in the world. He's a present famous person. Maybe somebody of you knows him. So he's for sure in contemporary sense a famous person. Then let me think about past famous people. I'm not very prepared on this question in the sense
it's okay. It's a tough question.
No, maybe not. But at the moment, just Mr. Messner comes to my mind. And yeah, famous, it is always relative because we had Claudia de' Medici and many important people who did things, but famous, yeah, not really on an international level.
Okay, just for Mona, yes, usually for Christmas Eve, Italian people, they eat fish, okay, but just a tradition. Eat for the Eve and meat for Christmas. I think it's okay. So something else, Elisabeth, that you want to tell, or we can close the event?
I hope you enjoyed our little tour of Bolzano, and I thank you for your attention. Although I just saw you, so I'm not sure. Yeah, but
no, you were great.
An interesting experience for me. Thank you.
You were great. Okay, thanks so much, everyone. I will send you the video, the recording. Of course, if you have questions, you can text in the mail to our email. I will send them to Elisabeth. But also, I will put all the information about Bolzano, so you can about also the tourist office, so you can contact there directly if you need some more information, detailed information about tour, where to stay, how to book the hotel, and much more. In the meantime, I want to thank again everyone. Have good holidays, buon Natale, buone feste, buon anno, and for all my students and the other one also, see you next year. Next year. Grazie a tutti, un saluto. Grazie. Ciao a tutti. Spero vi sia piaciuto. I hope you enjoyed the tour. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.